The 2025 Mr. Olympia is coming down to 4 men: Hadi Choopan, Derek Lunsford, Samson Dauda, and Nick Walker. That's it. With all due respect to everyone else, these guys are just operating on a completely different level right now. Could we see another dropout? Sure. Could one or two miss their peak? Absolutely. But all 4 of them missing at the same time while somebody else suddenly transforms into a contender? That's just not happening. Never say never, but let's be real. The Sandow is staying between these 4. Between these 4, everyone's got a different opinion on who the real favorite is. Hadi is the veteran and the most consistent. Samson beat him at the Olympia. Then Derek turned around and beat Samson at the Arnold Classic. And Nick is riding the hottest momentum after Pittsburgh. Let's be honest, most people thought he beat Derek there. Now sure, we can debate who was on, who was off, what the judges are looking for, or dive into the latest physique updates. That's all fun. But one of the simplest ways to cut through the noise is this. Look at their last stage appearance. If all 4 walked into the 2025 Olympia looking exactly the way they did at their most recent show, who walks away with the Sandow? We've got Gilco Productions footage for all 4, carefully crafted in true Supersetman fashion for that perfect sync. And just like that, we've got the 2025 main event right here in our hands. Front double biceps. What's interesting is that none of them was at their absolute best at these last shows. We'll do that video later in this road to Mr. Olympia as well. But I want to point out that for Hadi, at the 2024 Mr. Olympia, if we only used his initial individual routine from pre-judging, he would run away with this because that was his best ever, even better than his Arnold version. But during the comparisons, he lost that pop, and that's the reason he lost the Olympia to Samson, in my opinion. Now, since Samson at the Arnold was weaker than at the O, we still don't know who would win between them. Now, looking at the actual pose, I may get some heat from people claiming I'm biased here, but doesn't it look like Nick looks the best? Hadi doesn't have his usual polish, and I hate it when he doesn't do a full vacuum. He's just being lazy at the expense of looking glorious. Samson is too soft, so I may just call him Sam Soft. Derek is probably the closest to giving Nick a challenge, but his legs really don't match his upper body here in terms of size. That was the knock on Nick up until recently, but here we can see he's more balanced from this point of view. Nick's midsection also looks surprisingly good the way he hit it here. This is from the comparison with William Bonac in the first call-out. In his individual routine, he looked much worse in the front double, presenting a bloated stomach. It's true that I prefer when he crunches on his abs without losing control of the belly, but here it looks like the best choice against these 3. And to top it all off, he destroys the others when it comes to the actual biceps and arms overall. Is it too crazy to give Nick the win here solely based on what we're seeing? It would be completely different if the other guys were on. For me, Nick is first, Derek second, Samson third, and Hadi last here. But if Hadi looked like he did initially in the pre-judging, he would easily take first place. Front lat spread is next. In this other pose, usually we should have Hadi and Samson fighting for first, and then Derek and Nick fighting to avoid last. But the way it looks here, Derek actually promotes and turns the fight for first into a triple threat, while Nick obviously remains dead last in this pose. Shape-wise, he cannot compete with the other 3 in such a pose. Now, between the other 3, like I said, usually Derek is not in this league, and also Hadi kinda runs away with it. Hadi still looks nice and wide, his lats still flare the best in this pose, but we gotta mention the fact that Hadi's footage is from a lower angle, which obviously is in his advantage, at least in this pose. But what I don't like about Hadi here are his chest and especially his shoulders. When it comes to the shoulders, Samson's got a similar problem. They look pointy, and I don't care if they're natural or enhanced, I simply don't like it. Shoulders should look like Derek's or Nick's here for that matter, but I digress. Now if this was Derek at his best, when his legs were filled out, he could be first, but here I would actually go with Samson in first, Derek in second, Hadi third sadly, and Nick in fourth. Side chest pose is next. I would probably get a lot of heat from Hadi fans, but the way he looks here, he's the only one not looking like he could win this. Lower body he's good, pretty dry and detailed, but upper body he has the weakest arms, the weakest shoulders, and somehow his chest is flat too here. So yet again he takes last place. But I mention again, the way he looked at his individual routine, when he first came out at the 2024 Mr. Olympia was his best ever physique and nobody today can match that. Unfortunately, he faded out looking like this in the compulsories. Between Samson, Derek and Nick, they all look good. Samson has the perfect shape, but he's the least conditioned, which I really don't like. On the other hand, Nick is the driest and has the best lower body together with Derek from the side, but Nick somehow doesn't look as round and full as the other two. His chest is flat and I also can't get my head around why his arms and shoulders don't dominate here. Derek looks like the perfect balance between them, having some of that sweet shape of Samson but being drier almost like Nick. So for this pose I would go Derek in first, Samson in second, Nick in third and Hadi in fourth. I know these are crazy calls, but I'm not taking anything else into account but the eye test for what we got in front of our eyes. Back double biceps, and this pose is between Derek and Nick, while Hadi and Samson battle to avoid last. Between Hadi and Samson, I feel like I'm gonna set my head on fire with Hadi fans, but yet again he looks the least impressive to me. The only thing he's got on Samson here is the conditioning. But it's not enough since Samson has the better back here, the more mass and the better shape. I'm surprised myself because I thought Hadi would do better in this one. Derek versus Nick is difficult to judge here. After the Pittsburgh Pro, everybody talked about how Nick beat Derek in this pose, which is usually Derek's lights out pose. The New York Pro happened just a week after, and even though Nick wasn't as good anymore, from the back he looked arguably even better in New York, drier and more detailed. So based on this, Nick should be favorite. But even though I'm Nick Walker's biggest fanboy, this is just about the eye test, not theories and not narratives. And what I see is Derek's back looking so much better than Nick's, bigger, wider and having more depth. It's true that when it comes to the limbs, Nick simply destroys Derek, while his back is still good. In the end, I'm probably going to have to give it to Nick, but I'm not 100% convinced it's totally fair. Back lat spread is next, and you Hadi fans that are still watching this video can rest assured that I'm seeing now, Hadi remains the best in this pose. Despite having a rather not impressive back double, somehow his back transforms in this other back pose. And despite not looking at his best right here, his back is still the most solid in the lineup, closely followed by Derek Lunsford. Now once again, it's not only about the back but the complete package, where Nick Walker announces himself as a candidate, but as big of a fanboy I may be, his back just doesn't do it against Hadi and Derek here. One thing nobody talks about is Nick's right lat melting show by show. Trust me, I've analyzed this. Back in the 2021 season, his first full pro season, his lats were much meatier, especially the right one, but I digress. Samson Dauda falls in last place in the back lat spread. He's the biggest by frame, but his back is the smallest. Couple that with the fact that he's the least conditioned and you have a clear last place. So for the back lat spread, I have Hadi in first, Derek in second, Nick in third, and Samson in fourth. Side triceps is next, and this is the most beautiful pose between these four because they all look good. Hadi is the crispier but has the weakest arms. However, overall he looks polished and aesthetic. Samson is the biggest and holds the pose almost perfectly, very good presentation, but once again maybe too soft in comparison to the others. So Derek's side triceps became one of his best poses, especially because of the lower body, his fullness upper body and the presentation. While Nick is objectively the best in this pose, having the best actual triceps, an aesthetic midsection from this angle, and arguably the best side leg in this very shot. I would have Nick in first place because of all that. I would sadly have Samson in last place because of the conditioning. When it's so close, conditioning takes over. Between Derek and Hadi is tricky. If this was Derek from the Arnold, he would probably beat even Nick, but here the side leg details are mostly lost and his midsection is soft. I would go with Hadi in second and Derek in third in this pose. Abs and thighs is next, and we have a clear winner in Hadi Choopan, no questions asked, and 3 other guys who all fight to avoid last place. Samson is again the softest, his abs are poorly defined and have an unaesthetic shape, and his vacuum wannabe is just bad. Derek has the weakest lower body and almost no definition whatsoever through the abs. Nick has the most defined abs between them 3, but he looks like he swallowed a football and also has the worst shape. If his stomach was flat, I would easily have given him second place behind Hadi here. But looking like that, he's dead last. Even I as his biggest fanboy won't tolerate that anymore. Next, Derek doesn't deserve anything better than third looking like that, and it pains me to give Samson second place here because I really don't like his look either, but he's the least worse, so second for him. See why such a comparison sometimes doesn't make sense? Because Samson will get 2 points for looking really bad, while, for example, in the back double, Derek took 2 points looking glorious. Just saying, it is what it is after all. Last pose is the most muscular, where we have a clear last place in Derek Lunsford. I'm not going to even bother with that too much. He looks the smallest and not detailed. Samson looks the biggest, round and full, but yet again simply not dry enough. It's bodybuilding after all, conditioning should fucking matter. I don't care what all of you overall flow minions are saying. This pose is between Hadi Choopan and Nick Walker, and there can be only one clear winner, and that's Nick, no doubt. Hadi may have the crispier core and all that, but look at the arms and shoulders in contrast. It's simply no match, at least when talking about these particular versions with these looks. So in the most muscular, I have Nick in first, Hadi in second, Samson in third, and Derek in fourth. The final results are in, and in last place we have Samson Dauda with 22 points. I'm happy with this result because Samson really missed it at the Arnold this year. I'm pretty sure that if these 4 would look on stage like this, judges won't give Samson anything more than 4th, his conditioning was simply not there, even less than usual. In third place we have Hadi Choopan with 21 points, who at one point I thought was gonna be a distant last judging by the last places he was getting. I think I'm happy with this because judged by this footage, we really saw why he lost the Olympia last year. Once again, if he didn't melt on stage, he would be a 2-time Mr. Olympia and he would be first in this comparison. Derek Lunsford and Nick Walker are 1 and 2 in this matchup. In theory, this version of Derek beat a better version of Nick, but we all should know that was bullshit. With this least impressive version of Nick, it becomes a fair debate. The way I judge this one today, Nick Walker edged out Derek by only 1 point to win the matchup, which I totally agree with. Regardless of me being Nick's biggest fanboy, his New York Pro version was close to his all-time best, while for the other it was pretty far, so if Nick didn't win, it would have been a problem for his chances. Now you stay tuned for the upcoming video comparing their best shapes somewhere on this road to the 2025 Mr. Olympia. Nick's difference will be the smallest, while the other 3 will all do a bigger leap in quality, so we'll have to see if the mutant can still do battle, especially since here the score is very tight between all of them, only 4 points difference between first and last.